No, you're discriminating against me. I need to breathe air. Yeah. No. This is public.
Already did.
I told you.
They're on their way.
Okay. All right. You don't have no balls. You're a little bitch. Because you have the law on your side to protect and not discriminate against people. And you do not have the law on your side to discriminate. No, I'm not breaking the law. I have the rights. Code 51. Yeah, this is America. It's America. Little no ball-hatted bitch. Oh, fuck you. No, get the fuck away from me. Get out of my face, bitch. Get the fuck out of my face and I'll leave. Okay. You know what I love? I love you to grow some balls and stand up for people. Stand up for the Americans. Yeah.
Shalom. Like to give all undergoing praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakodash, like get double honors to our apostles and elders, great millstone. Salutations to our sincere Akim, pushing this word out across the four corners of the world. Just a quick news update concerning biblical prophecies, and this is an article from RT.com, and the title says, "We Americans are now in a cold civil war," and this was published on January the 4th, 2022. Despite Joe Biden's promise of unity during his 2020 U.S. presidential campaign, his administration has failed to unify the people. On the contrary, his divisive rhetoric means Americans are more polarized than ever. I will argue that America has already fallen to what might be termed a cold civil war following the 2020 election. We the people just do not see eye to eye on several significant issues, and it doesn't help that many of those were thrown at us all at once, beginning with the C. Since the first lockdown that pummeled our economy, Americans have been at fierce odds with each other over almost everything, especially if it's C related. We vehemently disagree over V's, V cards, mandates, and masks, and President Biden isn't exactly trying to douse the flames with his divisive language. And the reason why we're seeing that type of spirit that's being more active in these latter days concerning division, separation, discord, dissension, is because Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua prophesied that these things was going to take place in America, known as Babylon the Great, also known as spiritual Egypt. And this is the burden of Egypt. Here we are in the so-called United States, where you have division amongst these Americans. Which leads me right to the point in Isaiah 19 verse 2. And it says, "And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians." So the Americans against the Americans. That's why you see all these type of different mandates. You have people that's pro for it. You have people that's not for it. You got these different political parties. Everybody's against each other in the so-called United States. So, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. And there goes your civil war, these different class wars that's going to take place here in America very soon. So Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, he's all about building up all the tension, the stress, the anxiety, the pressure that's upon these different Americans due to this so-called pandemic that has really shattered a lot of these Americans' dreams. So he's going to agitate it more and more by putting that pressure upon them and utilizing his vessel of dishonor, beginning with the elites of Esau, Edom, who are all systematically planning this all out. And that's all in order to urge in this global reset. So when we see this type of vibration that's going out throughout America, we as the hopeful elect are in the same spirit as the disciples were. When they came to Yahushua, they asked them, what would be the signs of your coming? Like, what would be the signs of the end of the world? And Yahushua was giving them game, like what's going to take place. And this is another prophecy right here, how we know through the spirit that this place, America, is sinking. This place is literally circling the drain. And this is Matthew 12 and 25. And Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. So like I stated earlier, here we are in the so-called United States, where the people are supposed to be united mentally, spiritually, but you see it's all types of divisions and separations. So that shows you right there through the spirit that this place, America, as far as a rulership, is on its way out. And we are at the end of this so-called white man's chapter, his age. And that's nothing that he can do for it. So and Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself should not stand. And I was just thinking this through the Spirit. We are literally seeing the house of Esau or the house of America being brought down right before the house of David being built up. And Abaradazar, we are part of those inhabitants of the house of David. And the house of David all stand in a righteous vibration of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Verse 26, and if Satan casts out Satan, he is divided against himself. How should then his kingdom stand? And this place is not going to be able to stand because it's already prophesied through the scriptures, through the holy prophets, that this place is going to be taken out. And that's why we're seeing articles like this. We are now in a cold civil war. So this is all a buildup by Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Okay, so back to the article. It says, we vehemently disagree over V's, V cards, mandates, and masks, and President Biden is exactly trying to douse the flames with his divisive language. And he's not, because he's a puppet that's set in stone by the higher ups, the ones that actually pull the strings within the society, which are known as the puppeteers. And they are controlled by a higher divine power, which is Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. So he's set in stone to do the will and the bidding of the higher ups. And it says, in February of last year, he demanded CV compliance for all federal workers. Then in September, he shocked America within his comment that his patience is wearing thin, with the millions of Americans who did not want the shots. This was a bizarre statement coming from a U.S. president, especially since Americans, including those who chose not to be V, are the people he works for. Then, in late December, echoing his dark-winter remarks from the 2020 debates, he addressed American people in two separate categories, the V versus the un-V. We are looking at the winter of the severe illness and death for the un-V, for themselves, their families, and the hospitals they are soon overwhelmed, he said. Attempting to coerce a population by using fear and intimidation is not behavior typical of an American president. Those who voted for him may not see it, and those who did not vote for him undoubtedly feel even more disenfranchised. We'll jump down. And it says, at the same time, our country is being battered with back-to-back crises, including record high crime in our major cities. And that's also pursuant to Bible prophecies, the signs of our times, which leads me right to the book of Matthew 24, verse 12. And it says, and because iniquity shall abound, which means transgressions upon transgressions, is no type of righteous standard within this earth. And that's linking up with 2 Esdras, the 15th chapter, how it says, for wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth. Why is that? Because the earth is given unto the hand of the wicked. And that's pursuant to the tabernacle of Esau, Edom. So if the rulers of this world are in that spirit of wickedness, mischief, ill doings, then how much more the inhabitants of this world, except for the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel? So it says, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. So Yahweh Bashem Yahushua is placing a cold, bitter spirit upon the inhabitants of this world, especially here in America. And the closer that we get to the end, the more that you're seeing the lack of sympathy, the lack of compassion, the lack of respect, the lack of care for other individuals here in America. And due to social media, these people are becoming less sensitive. They're becoming more desensitized what they see on social media, where you can easily see a video of somebody getting murdered, somebody getting put to death. That's making these Americans have a lesser shock value when they see these type of crimes and violent acts. And that's all beautiful how Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, he's building that tension and that friction up. And you have this guy by the name of Gerald Salente. He's a top economist or business consultant, and he loves to predict about global financial markets. And he stated that you're going to see crime levels in America that's going to rival a third world country, and how it's going to get very violent here in America. So we are definitely in those times. Okay, jumping back to the article, it says, at the same time, our country is being battered with back-to-back crises, including record high crime in our major cities, and a never-ending pandemic Biden can't shut down after all, with Americans simultaneously being forced into poverty. Hit with hyperinflation not seen since the era of Jimmy Carter, America's middle and lower classes are struggling. And that's pursuant to the book of Revelation, the 13th chapter, how he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond. Notice it didn't say anything about the middle class. This is all spiritually and systematically designed by Yahweh Bashem Yahushua first and foremost, by utilizing his left hand tool, these elites of Esau, Edom, to cut off the middle class, and that's all due to this so-called pandemic. That's why we're seeing these small businesses are taking a big hit with this so-called pandemic. So it says America's middle and lower classes are struggling, gas prices are soaring, food is more expensive, and now we having a housing market where only the wealthy can afford to buy single-family homes. With a have and have-not economy, it's only going to be expected that citizens will grow restless. And that's that burden of Egypt, pursuant to Isaiah the 19th chapter. How Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, he's causing that tension, that friction, that weight, that anxiety and pressure to be upon the inhabitants of America. And these people are steadily getting pushed to their edge due to these draconian measures being brought upon them by their so-called government. It's going to get very chaotic out here, which goes right back to the title of this article, how it's going to be a cold civil war here in the streets of America. And it says right here, still all of this, while enough to make an already frustrated population become increasingly agitated, fearful, and angry, is only the surface of what deeply divides us. And let's get that in Luke, the 12th chapter, and the 49th verse. And this is Yahushua speaking. He said, I am come to send fire on the earth, and that's by the means of the so-called UFOs, which are the chariots of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, where they're going to shoot their laser beams on the people, and also by the nuclear war, those nuclear missiles. So I am come to send fire on the earth, and what will I if it be already kindled? So meaning that it's already going to be initiated with fires already upon this earth before Yahushua's second coming. So it's going to be all type of wars, class wars, race wars, all type of chaos and anarchy in the streets of America before Yahushua's second debut. It's stated in the book of Jeremiah how the Most High, he's going to send fanners upon Babylon. So he's going to be fanning that tension, and that wildfire is going to spread more and more until that ultimate fanner hit America, which is those nuclear missiles. So still all of this, while enough to make an already frustrated population become increasingly agitated, fearful, and angry, is only the surface of what deeply divides us. Just under the surface are two camps of political ideology that have always been at war, but now the heat has been dialed up to 11. Half the country, let's not forget, voted for Donald Trump. Many of those believe he won, and these people are so simple here in America. That's why it's stated in Isaiah the 60th chapter, gross darkness to people. Here we are in 2022, and these people still don't come to the conclusion that your votes do not count. It's all systematically set up who the elite bankers are going to put in that president's seat beforehand. And they pour out their illusion with their mainstream media thinking that your votes count. So that's a lie right there. And it says to add fuel to that fire, we had the unfortunate January 6th event at the Capitol that the left still insists was an insurrection and the other side feels was a mass protest gone wrong, which was another staged event, a false flag that was done by the higher ups. So through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, we are not ignorant of Satan's devices. And we know the wiles of this devil, which goes into his trickery. Don't jump down right here. It says what Americans have instead is class warfare being agitated by a few elites at the top, including some traitorous American politicians and billionaires. These people relish in taking advantage of our strife, and they know very well about all of the conflicts I mentioned above. They encourage the conflict because they know it weakens us. What all elites and globalists have always wanted is global economic domination by way of global communism. The New World Order isn't being hidden anymore. It's being spoken about quite openly. The U.S. is absolutely the one country that can stand in their way, and that's false. That is exactly why we do have hope as a country. It will take some time and a lot of hard work, but there is a way back home. And whoever wrote this article pursuant to the book of Obadiah, thy pride has deceived thee, because there's no way that this place America is coming back. America had its course. Just like every other ancient empire that ruled before America had its course. So we are at the end of America's chapter, the end of Esau's age as being a ruler within this earthly realm. So the title of this article is very plausible to believe through the spirit of how it's going to be an upcoming cold civil war that's coming to the streets of America. Especially how the elites of Esau Edom via the government are pushing out these draconian measures, which are these unrighteous decrees, mandates, and legislations upon the inhabitants of the world, especially here in America, known as Babylon the Great. So with that type of vibration, that's making more of these Americans hopeless, more in that spirit of despair. more agitated. And that's pushing them further to their edge. On top of that, you have to think about with all the assets they have with social media, seeing these violent crimes and acts, and that's making them more desensitized through the spirit. So by pushing that person to the edge more and more, that person is liable to do anything. And these Americans are feeling that they're losing all their rights, their freedoms. They are going to become more animalistic. So we are definitely in those times where things are going to get more chaotic here in the streets of America, dealing with this civil Cold War. So these people, they can fight tooth and nail, try to upkeep the ways of America, but at the end of the day, it's all declaring from the end, from the beginning, that Yahweh Bashim Yahushua's counsel is going to stand. And that's by putting an end to the house of the thief. And that's also about putting an end to Esau's rule. So just to link all this up through the spirit, this is 2nd Esdras, the 15th chapter, and the 15th verse. It says, "For the sword and their destruction draw nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands." Y'all jump down to verse 18. "For because of their pride, the city should be troubled, the houses should be destroyed, and men should be afraid." Verse 19, "A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread, and for great tribulation." And those are the plagues that Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is pouring out upon this earth, especially here in America, which is that main hub that he's saving the best for last. And he's putting that spirit out there that these people of America are feeling it's going to be a cold civil war, which is also biblical prophecy. And those are the times that we are in. It's going to be more chaos and anarchy in the streets of America. Thus say Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. So that was just a quick update right there through the spirit. I brought this out. You all was edified. You all stay strong. Keep pushing forward. Shalom.